Hello, welcome back to another episode of Tour of the Palate. We're going to have a taste of every country in the world, and this week is India, which I am particularly excited about because I love Indian food, and the culture is amazing. I've worked with quite a few people from India, so hearing about what it was like to grow up there and what the food's like, all those kinds of things. So I'm particularly excited about this episode and this food for that reason. One of the really interesting parts about Indian food is that there's not really just one kind of Indian food. Depending on where you're at in the country, they kind of specialize in different things. Some of that's availability of the ingredients, and we'll get into some of that in a little bit. But what I'm going to make is called, and I could be pronouncing this incorrectly, but it's lentil rice, which is called khichdi, I think is how you say it. And it's mung and rice and a bunch of spices and stuff. I've already washed the rice, already put the mung sprouts in there, and really at this point, what we're doing is waiting for that water to heat up. So the ingredients that we have, I've got a cinnamon stick, some ghee, chili powder, mustard seeds, turmeric, some cloves, cardamom pods, some salt, and naan. I did not make that. I bought it from the store. I have made naan before. It's really good, but I just didn't have time to do it today. So I figured one of the things that go well with Indian food is naan. So I went ahead and got some anywho. And so that is the spread for the ingredients. This particular recipe does not have any protein as far as like chicken or beef or pork or anything. It's just the lentils and okay. So I already washed the rice. That was the first step that we're going to be doing. And then the next thing that we're going to do, I got this recipe from New York Times Cooking, by the way. So I'm going to add the ghee, spoon, to the pot. And ghee, if you've never used it, is like clarified butter, and it's very good, and it's kind of a staple of Indian cuisine because they use it in lieu of some other oils and things. So go ahead and add that in there, turn this heat on, and mustard seeds, and in. And so really what we want to do, we're spicing this fat essentially. And so we're going to add that to the ghee mixture to the rice and the lentils. So I'm going to give that a little stir. Okay, and so you eat the ghee, the mustard seeds. When they start to pop, we're going to lower the heat, add all the rest of the ingredients, and then we're going to pour it into the pot. And so the thing about this is very low maintenance is a meal, so I have plenty of time to talk, for better or worse, about some other things, tell you a little bit more about the culture of India, eating customs, and whatnot. So if everybody's having a good week, it is Tuesday. Anybody that's outside, hopefully you're staying hydrated. And if you're inside, I hope you're still staying hydrated. And yeah. Okay, so this is getting heated up, and we're just going to start adding these ingredients. The water is going to come to a rolling boil. You know, for a long time I never really know what a rolling boil was. Like, you just roll the boil down the street. Is it a wheel? Okay. But something that could be good to practice is if you boil a lot of things. Boiling is pretty common, especially when you make sauces and some other things to help reduce. Getting good at identifying when the boil starts, and then when it needs to simmer is being able to turn the heat down. Especially helpful when cooking potatoes is a fun aside. When you cook potatoes, you always want to cook potatoes if you're boiling them. I like to par cook them, boil them and then roast them in the oven or fry them. And so from cold water, you want to heat the potatoes up to boiling from cold water so it cooks evenly. And so, yeah, just kind of a fun little aside there. Not anything we're cooking today, but still helpful to know. So this is getting pretty close. And so the measure of when we're going to be ready to add the rest of this stuff in to kind of swirl it around a little bit is when this gets to be a little poppy. So when these, which you can kind of hear, I'll go ahead and show you what I'm looking at. You just put the mustard seeds in there and they're starting to do a little bit of popping, or maybe that's the oil, one way or the other. And keep an eye on it. It'll be in good shape there. Yeah. This is the part where I kind of need to pay attention, so I'm gonna do that and then I'll start adding some of the other ingredients. The nice thing about this meal is that it's pretty like simple and straightforward, and most of these ingredients you can find at the store, and it's all relatively inexpensive. The probably most expensive thing to buy is the initial investment in your powders, so like turmeric or cinnamon sticks. Aside from that, it's a low-cost meal that yields a couple of servings. So yeah, kind of neat. And that's got a little rolling boil going. Give it a good stir. Scrape the bottom of the pot with the spatula, the scoopula. Scoop, I don't know if that's what that. The scoop a spatula. Ah, there we go. Now I'm getting popped and burned by the ghee. That's not cool. Don't hurt me, ghee. In with the turmeric, in with the chili powder, in with the cardamom pods, in with the cloves, in with the cinnamon stick. I'm gonna stir that around a little bit. Throw in the salt. Let me show you what I'm looking at here. So it gives it a nice color, and you can't smell it because you're in the computer, but it smells really good. It's very mustardy right now. So just give this a little stir, and then we're gonna add it to our mixture, and then, yeah, and then carefully gonna pour the ghee and all of this stuff into the rice. To describe what it smells like, it's almost kind of like, you like pretzels, like mustard pretzels? It smells like that. And the turmeric and the chili powder, it's very interesting. I love to smell food. It's one of my favorite things. Okay, so we've got that going. Okay. Just a little bit longer. Okay. Now we can go ahead and add this stuff in there. So I'm just going to pour it in. And since that's essentially, boiling, not essentially, it is boiling. Make sure I get all that goodness out of there. And then I'll turn this heat off. And I'm supposed to give this a good stir. And so I just put the ghee in there too. It would have been really tough to sift out those ingredients. And then I'm going to turn this heat all the way down to low. And set a timer for 15 minutes. Boom. Okay. There we go. Simple as that. Simple as that. Yeah, that would be a pretty simple meal to make. You could cook protein separately and add it to the rice if you wanted to. That's pretty common. This is also kind of similar to biryani, I think. I could be wrong about that, but when I was looking at some things, that's what it said. Okay, so now I'm going to share some things that I learned about India and Indian food. So let me go ahead and bring that up real quick. Um, all right. So, one of the things that's really important to know that I already mentioned at the very beginning is that Indian cuisine is very diverse. And it's since it's such a large country and such a densely populated country, there are a lot of people, there are a lot of farms, a lot of different things to gather ingredients. And one thing that's really interesting that I love about Indian food is a lot of it is based on seasonal ingredients. So you're not going to get the same thing all year long. You're going to get what's seasonally available, which I think makes food good. But India has 28 states and 8 union territories, and each of these regions developed a very distinct culinary identity. Um, some of it is based on historical influence, and some of it's based on religious practices and availability of the ingredients, and some of it is a mixture of all three of those components. The regional cuisines, North India features wheat-based breads. Have you ever had naan or roti? Which I have naan here. It's not authentic naan. I bought it from the grocery store, but it's still naan nonetheless. Rich gravies, dairy products, and tandoor cooking. And tandoor is a clay oven that you can cook in. Popular dishes include butter chicken, biryani, and dal preparations. So, delicious there. South India centers around rice, coconut, curry leaves, and fermented foods. Signature items include dosa, idli, I think, idli, sambar, and spicy curries with tamarind and coconut milk. And tamarind is a very interesting, I think it's a fruit, but it's really sweet. I bought tamarind paste when I made some things before. It's really interesting. It's really tasty, and coconut milk makes it creamy and delicious and all of the good things. East India is known for fish, rice, and sweets. Bengali cuisine features mustard oil, Panch Phoron spice blend. I'm not sure exactly what that is. I can look it up. Famous desserts like rasgulla and mishti doi. And then West India offers diverse styles from Gujarati vegetarian thalis to Goan seafood curries, Mumbai street food, and Rajasthani royal cuisine with its rich spice preparations. So, key ingredients and spices. Indian cooking relies heavily on spices, each serving both flavor and medicinal purposes. Essential spices include turmeric, cumin, coriander, cardamom, cinnamon, cloves, and garam masala blends. Fresh ingredients like ginger, garlic, onions, tomatoes, and various lentils form the foundation of most dishes. So, very aromatic. If you have never eaten Indian food, it is an experience through and through. All the senses are stimulated. So, strongly encourage you if you haven't tried it. Garlic, ginger, onions, tomatoes, some of the best stuff you can put in food. So a few of the eating customs and etiquette. So traditional dining meals are typically served on banana leaves or metal plates, thali, with multiple small portions of different dishes. So rice or bread serves as the base, accompanied by dal, vegetables, pickles, and yogurt. Traditionally, food is eaten with the right hand, as the left hand is considered unclean. This practice is believed to enhance the dining experience and connect the eater with their food. So not just as a practical matter, but it's supposed to help you connect to your food. The meal structure follows a specific order, and often we'll start with something sweet or bitter, followed by sweet or salty and spicy, and then ending with some sweet items to aid in digestion. Religious influences. Many Indians follow vegetarian diets due to Hindu, Jain, or Buddhist beliefs, or Jain. Muslims avoid pork and alcohol, while Sikhs may avoid halal meat. Fasting portions are common across religions. Dining rituals and social aspects. So hospitality is Atithi Devo Bhava, which means guest is God, is a fundamental principle. Guests are always offered food and drink, and refusing hospitality can be considered rude. So I think this is kind of a ubiquitous thing across all culture. I don't want to overgeneralize, but if somebody makes something and offers it to you, or goes out and buys it and offers it to you, it's probably good to at least try and see. Even just have a bite or a sip of something is considered polite and courteous. Also, my lovely girlfriend Sarah was telling me that one thing that was common when she lived in India was she experience a lot of hospitality from Indian friends that they would be very concerned about, making sure that she had fresh food prepared, and those kinds of things. So just very generous and hospitable people. And I think overall, my experience too has been very similar. I've worked with a lot of people from India, and they always went out of their way, and have and still do go out of their way, to make sure that you have things. And if they brought food to work or wherever else, always offered to share it, which is pretty wonderful, and something that makes the culture even more endearing to me. And a lot of the time it's served family style. So very common with Asian cuisine is everything is served in a communal setting. So everybody shares the food together, and they're often on the floor around a shared space, and elders are served first. And it is especially a bonding time. And I think an encouraging thing to everybody out there that may be watching this or hearing it, it's really important to share meals with your friends, with your family. Put your phones down. I say that as I'm holding my phone, but it's just me. And be present. It may seem like kind of silly or fake, but if you have to use like conversation cards or whatever else, like they sell stuff like that, just be engaged, be present. Sometimes it's nice to even just take a couple of minutes to just listen, experience the smells and the sounds and the sights of the food, asking people how their day was. I mean, all of that seems fundamental, it seems straightforward, but there are so many people that will go eat in front of the TV, and that's not to say that sometimes that's a bad option. Maybe people are tired or whatever else, and at the end of the day they're like, you know what, I just want to eat pizza in front of the TV, and that's totally fine. I don't think that should be the norm, because sometimes a meal is the only time where you really have, as a group, to connect with the people in your life. So I think setting the time aside to do that, especially nowadays where everybody feels a little bit more disconnected, it can be a really important way to share time with people. So maybe that's just an extra nudge for people to do that. I think of the best meals I've ever had in my life have been shared with other people. I've had really good food by myself, but a meal, I don't know, it just makes me feel happy and good. So yeah, being able to share that with other people is good. I talked about this a little bit ago, but seasonal eating, and this is also pretty common outside of the United States. Like, I think the United States is one of the only countries in the world that imports a lot of things that we wouldn't be able to grow ourselves, and also out of season. And so you can go to the grocery store, and even if something's not being grown technically at that time, we get it from another country in the world, we get it from another spot in the world, even further south, like in Mexico or South America, where the weather is a little bit different because of the time of year. So I would maybe encourage you to experiment for summer or winter or spring, and only seek out things that grow in that season, because it'll be fresher. Farmers markets are a good place to go. So if you have, do a time check, got 5 minutes left. If you have a farmer's market, they often will grow what's seasonally available, because they're limited by what the weather does and the soil and all those kinds of things. So maybe check that out. Just make a meal from a farmer's market. My buddy Jim and I do that pretty regularly. So common meal patterns. So breakfast typically includes items like idli sambar, paratha with yogurt, poha or upma. Lunch is typically the main meal, and I'm sorry if I'm butchering the pronunciation of any of these words. Some of them I haven't heard or used before, so please forgive me for that. Typically the main meal featuring rice or bread with multiple curries, vegetables, dal, and accompaniments for lunch, and then dinner is usually something lighter than lunch. often with similar components but in smaller portions. Snacks and street food. Chai culture is prominent. Accompanied by snacks like samosas, pakoras, or regional specialties. If you've never had a samosa before, they are so good. Please order one if you go to an Indian restaurant. They're so good. So water is primary with meals, though buttermilk, lassi, and other regional drinks are popular as well. Alcohol consumption varies based on region and religious beliefs, and some states have prohibition laws. Modern adaptations, so some contemporary Indian dining has adapted to urban lifestyle while maintaining some traditional elements. Restaurant culture has grown, fusion cuisine has emerged, and health-conscious adaptations of traditional recipes are increasingly popular. So food is really significant in India, and it is in a lot of other cultures and countries in the world, for the sense that it transcends just sustenance. It does have a deeply connected aspect to spirituality, social hierarchy, celebration, and cultural identity. Festivals, religious ceremonies, and life events are all centered around eating specific foods and customs. So making cuisine an integral part of Indian cultural expression. So just a couple of things there to share about what I've learned. And of course I didn't have it memorized, so I read it from my phone, but you get the idea. And I guess for the next couple of minutes, I will, with tradition, tell you a few dad jokes, because that's just what you do when you have a couple of minutes to spend. Go ahead and pull some up. Okie dokie artichoke. What do you call a mouse that swears? A cursor. I should have a rim shot soundboard. But all right. A cop sees a woman knitting while driving. He pulls alongside and says, "Pull over." She says, "No, socks." Yeah. Anyway, so got about a minute and 50 seconds left. I guess a few other thoughts that I had, dangerous as that might be. I would encourage you to ask one of your friends what their favorite food, what their favorite meal is, and surprise them one night and say, you either make that meal and bring it over to them, or you could invite them over and cook for them. Even if you don't like to cook, follow the recipe. You can watch a ton of videos. Often if you look on YouTube about how to make a meal, there will be an accompanying video to a recipe, so it'll show you how to do it. You can see the technique. And if you don't even feel comfortable doing some prep, like using a knife to cut things up, even having there are YouTube videos that will show you how to do that. Granted, I'm not going to encourage any. Nothing in this video is something that I don't have a lawyer, but should not be held liable for any suggestions that I make. I am not a trained professional. I am not advising anybody to do anything that would endanger themselves or others. Insert the disclaimer. But yeah, there are plenty of great resources online. And if you don't feel comfortable with that even, you could go look for a cooking, like culinary class locally. Often they'll do a relatively inexpensive knife skills class, and it's super helpful. Knowing how to chop up vegetables, slice things, practice good safety with a knife, even just knowing how to hold one, all of those things. Maybe one of these videos I can do a little bit of that and show you some tricks that I know. So turn the heat off, and then I'm going to set this timer for 10 minutes, and I will be back with you in 10 minutes. Thanks for joining.